Okay, Algebra 1, Chapter 8, Section 2, the stem and leaf plot. We're just looking at different ways in this chapter of representing, as I struggle on my words, data sets. So things that we can pick up and uh, record data for certain things. So I'm going to take some numbers just that I have taken directly out of the textbook right now, and let's look at the following numbers. So I just put those up there real quick just to save a little time in the video. You can hit pause and get those at this time. Maybe these represent somebody's grades in a class, with a lowest grade being a 66 and a highest grade being 100%. And so there's multiple different ways that we can represent these. Obviously, we can write them out like this, but we can also create what's called a stem and leaf plot. And in that stem and leaf plot, you have two things. I know you know this. You're going to have a stem and a leaf. And it will look similar to what I'm about to create. We have just a little, almost like a T-chart. And the stems are going to be a little bit smaller. And so we're going to, there we go. I was standing sideways. That didn't look correct for just a minute. And so we've got our stem and our leaf. Okay, the stem is basically going to be, in this case, we're going to go by 10s, 60s. We're going to group the 60s together, the 70s together, the 80s together, the 90s together, and then the 100 will be all alone by itself, kind of like the 66. So we're going to start with a stem, and the 10s value of 6, and then our leaf is the 1's value, and that gives me 66. We're going to go with our 70s value, and we've got a 0, a 5, a 7, and an 8. So that shows me that there's 4 data sets there, the 70, the 75, the 77, the 78. And so then we can go to the 80s. We've got 2 81s, and we will list them both. We have 83, we have 2 84s, we have an 86, we have 2 88s, and we have an 89. A little bit shorter list, we get to our 90s, and we have a 90, a 92, and a 99. And then finally, our 100. Now, with this information, we can answer some different things. Maybe you might ask how many students scored less than an 80%. So less than 80%, very easy taking a look at this data set to see that we have 5 scores that were less than 70%. We could also ask something to the effect, how many are at least 90%? So how many of my grades are at least 90%, which means they could be greater, but they would also be equal to 90%. And in this case, we're going to get 4 of those scores. We might also ask, how is this distributed? Are there more lower scores? Are there more higher scores? Are there more mid-level scores? Or is there no distribution correlation whatsoever? It's just almost the same everywhere. In this case, there seem to be more scores in the mid-range, or in the middle of this data set. And so in the work in class, we'll be creating some stem and leaf plots. We may do one together as a class, and then also we will look at some that are out of the text. So that is 8-2, stem and leaf plots.